Yeah, so I'll be talking about Bitcoin and blockchain. Can we do a quick show of hands of how many people here know about or at least have heard about Bitcoin? Okay, quite a few. So it's a payment conference. So yeah, that's good. To start with, let's go. What is Bitcoin? That's the first question everyone asks most of the places. Bitcoin is basically a new currency. It's an independent currency. It's completely digital, and it is 100% guaranteed by pure means of cryptography and other security features and code. Basically, it's guaranteed by math, nothing else. It was invented, the paper initially was published in 2008 by an anonymous figure named Satoshi Nakamoto. And after that, a lot of people began to review his code. And the code was actually published on open source platform in 2009. And ever since then, it's been like growing. So Satoshi Nakamoto was an anonymous person. Till date, his identity is not known. Although the technology in itself, a lot of well-known developers and key people in the industry are contributing to this Bitcoin technology. Bitcoin basically lets you send money over the internet. That is what it is in true essence. It's a digital currency, and every digital currency, or be it any kind of asset, it basically has to, the value comes when it is able to transfer from point A to point B. So that is how it works. It's like you have an email address where you have a sender's address and a recipient address. You basically send information via email. Similarly, in a Bitcoin world, what happens is you have a Bitcoin address for the sender and receiver both, and the sender basically sends Bitcoins from one address to another address. It is a limited currency, like I said. The supply is limited. It's exactly similar to gold. Gold is also when gold was created initially when the earth was formed, it was limited, and Bitcoin as well. The protocol has been set such that only 21 million Bitcoins can ever be in existence, out of which already 16 million Bitcoins have already been mined by a lot of computational resources that are being put into the network. And how do you get Bitcoin and gold? It's a pretty much similar concept. You basically, if you want to get gold, either you mine it or you buy it from an exchange, or there is jewelries, or you kind of like give some services to others, and in exchange you get paid in gold or similarly Bitcoin. In terms of where Bitcoin is being used, the first transaction that happened was way back in 2009, and that was like 7 or 8 years ago, and 2 pizzas were bought for 10,000 Bitcoins, which was worth nothing at that point, but in today's worth, it's roughly about 10 million US dollars, close to about 70 crore INR. Tesla was also bought with Bitcoin recently. Now, if you will always ask this question, where exactly is Bitcoin and why exactly do you need it? You might think you don't really need Bitcoin, but that is only until the point you actually do a international transaction or encounter any kind of an international transaction. So if you have ever done any international transactions or tried to understand why these transfers take time, or if you have ever tried to use a credit card or debit card for an international transaction, or let's say you went for a foreign trip and returned back, you just have a little bit of change, and banks refuse to take coins or smaller denominations in exchange for INR. So you're left with a lot of foreign currencies, and you basically can't exchange them as well. So that's another problem. And hyperinflation, Zimbabwe is the best example. You have $100 trillion notes being used as 1 rupee and 2 rupee coins over there. And yeah, so also in places where there's a lot of unbanked population, Bitcoin also is very useful in those scenarios. Yeah, perhaps in your country, basically depending on the different places where people transact in international currency requirement for international remittances or unbanked population. This basically is Bitcoin Potential Market Index, and you can see that there are a lot of countries who are already like having a high potential for Bitcoin. And Bitcoin is definitely going to help a lot of people in the world. If not here, maybe someone else or someone who is yet to like discover something out of it. And Bitcoin honestly is just not about payments. The underlying technology beneath it is a lot more than just payments or transferring money from here to there. And that is where blockchain comes into picture. Now the question is, what is blockchain? I just spoke about what Bitcoin is. Now if you ask me about blockchain in true essence is basically a ledger. It's a distributed decentralized ledger. what it does is it stores records of every transaction that happens. It might be information, and also when it happened and who made it. So it is a permanent record, an immutable record. It cannot be erased, it cannot be tampered. Now what is the difference? Bitcoin basically is a way to transfer digital money from one place to another. It's a transfer of assets or ownership of digital assets. And blockchain, in true essence, is a database that records ownership with a time-stamped continuous database. You can see that here's a database, and it basically has some records, and every database has a some kind of access control. Who accesses the database? There's a limitation to it. Now imagine all of these databases in the world which are connected to each other. There is Google, there is Yahoo, and so many data centers which are connected to each other. As long as all the databases are in sync with each other, you know that if some value is being, or some data is being moved from here to there, the exact copy is also, the database reflects that the copy is also moved in other places as well, within the network or outside the network. And let's say one of this network fails, the other networks can also be affected. But in a Bitcoin or blockchain-driven scenario, it is not the case. If one of the servers or the data centers is compromised, the underlying data in itself is never compromised. Only the infrastructure would get, in terms of security as such, would get a bit compromised, but the actual user data is never destroyed. And you have access control, like individual can have a single key, or an individual can assign multiple keys to different parties and ensure that different people are given access based on their requirements on the blockchain network. It's pretty much similar to a database. And all of these ingredients, one is the decentralized nature, the second is the cryptographic security that it in the underneath implies, and also the immutable timestamping. So it's like 1, 2, 3, 4. Every record goes in a continuous time. So all of this form the perfect ingredients to what is called the blockchain technology. It's again the same points. This is the same thing again. Transactions are synchronized through the network. So every time a transaction happens, it's always synchronized with the whole network. So what it means is, if you are connected to the blockchain network or the Bitcoin network, either of which is actually the same, the transactions happening in one place will always be synchronized with the transactions happening in other part of the world. And a new block is created every 10 minutes. It's basically like every 10 minutes a sector is added to the database, and this sector is 100% validated by all of the other nodes in the Bitcoin or the blockchain network. And here you can see that. So basically what was there was the first transaction that ever happened in blockchain's world was on 3rd January 2009, and we are almost 8 years from that point, and the first transaction in Bitcoin network happened in the same month, Jan of this, like month Jan 3rd. And also another thing is, as in when the transactions are added, in real time you can actually see what happened. Yeah.
Could you, hi Manu
Hi.
again, could you quick expand on that? Times are synchronized across the network on the blockchain. Like how would one computer sort of, if there's a transaction, if there's two different transactions, what's with the time synchronization? How does that work?
In terms of a database, it can be like UTC. It's basically based on UTC or epoch time as such. What happens is when you add, let's say there are two databases, and when they are connected to the internet, right? Every file that you add is always time stamped on a UTC based time formatting. So when you upload something to one database here, it basically means on the whole network, in terms of peer-to-peer network, let's say for example BitTorrents or a similar network, when you're uploading a file from here or sharing a file at any place in the world, the same file is retrieved or received at the other sides as well, and it gets added to the file. So in that way, what happens is a timestamp is maintained and it is synchronized. So that is what I meant to say. Does that answer the question? No, you don't need GPS. It's like the computer protocols. That is based on the ledger. So in a ledger, basically what happens is every time a transaction happens, it leaves a chain behind. So every previous transaction, I will explain that in the next slides. I mean, like every previous transaction is always linked with the previous transaction to that. So when a current transaction is being added, it always has a bit of information of the previous transaction. So it leaves a chain. That way you are able to know if this transactions, the set of transactions happened before it or after it. Is that like it's not going to work? Or? Okay. Done.
Does anyone else have questions
Yeah,
in
but
the
I need a
meantime?
Windows or anything works. If you can just get me a. I had it somewhere. It's in my jacket.
Yeah. Hi, Sugandha this side.
Yeah, tell me.
Yeah, so you told that there is a lot of potential of using Bitcoin for the unbanked population.
Yeah.
So can you please elaborate on some use cases or organization which are making use of it?
To start with, there is an organization called BitGive. It is a charity NGO kind of organization for people from Brazil and other parts of the world where banking is not yet made feasible. So these guys basically go to every individual and they just give them a Bitcoin wallet. Wallet can be of different types. It can just be a software application that is installed in your mobile phone, or it can also be just your mobile number, which can be linked with some service provider. Like there's this thing called BitPesa. BitPesa is a mobile-based Bitcoin wallet provider which runs on SMS-based technology. Internally, what they do is they create a Bitcoin wallet for every user with a mobile phone, and they basically create wallets. So it's a mobile-based wallet solution. The beauty of this is, unlike other wallets or digital payment modes which are already existing in the market, with Bitcoin, it's an instantaneous setup. So it's seamless. It can like get started right away. It can work on mobile to non-mobile kind of a situation as well. It can even work on phone calls. So just give you call up a number and dial your PIN. It depends on the service provider. So all of this can be made possible. But the service provider in the back end, the technology which is being used is compatible with every other payment mode. Because it is all digital, it's just APIs and a digital currency. You can seamlessly transfer Bitcoins from one part of the world to another part of the world. It gives rise to global payments scenarios.
Is there anything being done in India in this?
Not as of now, but there are a lot of companies which are actually looking at blockchain to kind of like get started with rural and unbanked, get the unbanked population on board. And basically, it's not just dependent on any organization or company as such. Individuals can just get started right away. So all you would require is a mobile app, and you instantly have access to a new kind of a payment mode, which is global as well as digital. And it is compatible with every other digital currency out there in the market. That seamless compatibility can be achieved with Bitcoin.
Is your mouse pointer working?
Yeah, that's not. I'll just change it manually, no problem. That's not working as well. Can you just click here or something?
Hi, I'm Ashwath from Cigital. So what does CoinSecure do? Do you use Bitcoin technology to do secure transaction transfers?
We are basically, at CoinSecure, we are a Bitcoin exchange in India. We enable Indian users to get onboard this technology. Like I said, the mining process, different ways of acquiring Bitcoin. Now, if you look at gold, gold is a physical asset. You go to a gold shop or you go to a gold mining company and gold reserve basically, and you get your gold bars from there. Now with Bitcoin, as long as there is Bitcoin being mined and people are generating these Bitcoins, there is always a requirement to sell these Bitcoins and eventually get the profits out, or the mining cost or equipment as such. People actually sell it, and or there are traders as well who just do trading for arbitrage and try to get a lot of profits because of the market speculations that go around in Bitcoin. So we are basically an exchange. We enable users to buy and sell. We are a real-time open exchange. The beauty is we are completely open. All our order books are transparent. People can view the real exchange in real time. Orders are placed. You are free to choose your own rates. And also we allow users to see the entire history of transactions that happened on our exchange. So it basically means you can basically study the market, the way the prices are moving, and basically profit from it.
So
It's a fair model.
So say if I have some money in my bank, how do I set up CoinSecure? How do I set up a wallet on CoinSecure, or how do I set up my account on CoinSecure?
You basically go sign up on CoinSecure, submit your KYC. KYC is a mandatory norm that everyone has to follow. So we are fully KYC compliant company. So you basically go sign up, submit your KYC documents. Once the verification is done from the compliance team, you immediately do an NMP regular banking transfer to our accounts, and we kind of like update your balances. And with that, you basically can just go and put a buy order or a sell order if you already have Bitcoins. Depends on the use case. And you can just instantly buy Bitcoins. And because we are a real-time exchange, completely automated, as soon as you buy your Bitcoins, you can withdraw it the next second. So that is the beauty of the Bitcoin technology in itself. Bitcoin in itself was made to enable real-time fast payments. So that is about it. Is it like,
Hi,
yeah.
I'm Sharif from Paymatrix.
Yeah.
So how is the Bitcoin rate exchange determined?
Bitcoin rate?
The exchange rates, right?
Huh?
So how is it determined?
It's a demand supply model, similar to gold or any other commodity or digital good, right? It's based on a demand supply model. If there is a huge demand, the prices are based on the demand, and also the supply. If the supply there is a shortage of supply, prices go up. And because Bitcoin in itself, like for example, gold in itself has an inherent value because it's a shiny metal and a lot of other parameters. Bitcoin has its value from its technology, its security, and the underlying technology that ensures this. That is where the value for Bitcoin comes from. And Bitcoin's value from a technology's perspective, or a guy from the tech background, I would say its value basically lies in the security and the way it simplifies the infrastructure. So the technology in itself brings a lot of value, and its value is pretty much it is priceless. Going back to the presentation, yeah, every 10 minutes, that's like I said, every 10 minutes a block is created. In terms of security, again coming back to that, where the value comes, how do we ensure that the transactions are basically safely recorded? The main problem, the biggest problem here is organizations are centralized, and companies like JP Morgan or even other companies, when the databases get hacked or entities get compromised by internal or external parties, depends on the situation, varies from a lot of things. This is the main reason such things happen, and with money it becomes a huge risk, and it's expensive to secure, and you need to trust a single person who is in charge of one particular department or wing within the organization. So things can go wrong within the organization and people can go corrupt. The solution basically is a decentralized network where all of the computers in the world are connected to it, and the databases are continuously, every transaction that happens on the Bitcoin or the blockchain network can be viewed or audited by anyone in the world. So that's a decentralized network. It brings down the cost of security, and also there's a fixed set of rules. It's only math that you need to trust, not a single individual. So basically nobody can actually run away with your money or decide, I just want to wipe your accounts and take your money and go away and do something with it. So that is not possible in this kind of a technology. To verify the transactions, every block, they basically add the transactions to every block. So you can see that transaction is being added, and these are the blocks. So that happens. And every block has a timestamp. It's not visible though, but so the transactions are linked to the previous records. Like imagine this to be one of these blocks to be a transaction. Every transaction is always having a bit of information from the previous block, and when you go to the previous block, you can retrieve which previous block that was linked to. So there is always a chain, and that is why it's called the blockchain. If in case, let's say a person goes and changes a bit of code in one of these chains, what happens is a different change is created because the network detects that this is not a right, cryptographically speaking, it is not a right change in code. The hashes vary, and the system is able to detect that this transaction that is coming in is from a corrupted Bitcoin node. And what would happen is the person, whoever has actually done it, can continue to actually grow the blockchain database, which is a corrupted database. He can continue to grow it, but to actually catch up with the rest of the world's database, which is growing at 10 MB per minute as such, it becomes a huge cost for the attacker himself, and which is literally not feasible to any present day situation. And the network is almost 20 times stronger than the top 500 supercomputers combined in the world. So that is what the power of Bitcoin's existing infrastructure is as on date. People decide what they want to do with their computers, and people literally own the ecosystem. The vast majority of network, only if the vast majority of the network agrees for the code change, only then the network will actually change the code, because you need to download the software and run it. If something is changing in the software, as long as you download it and the whole network comes to a mutual agreement that they want to run this software and they are fully in acceptance with the code changes that has been done for the benefit of the technology, only then things can be changed. But you can always ask, everything can be hacked, things can go wrong. But to be very honest, this is an open network, and it's an invite kind of a thing for all the biggest attackers in the world. Every day 50 million transactions happen on this network. And it's not like some hidden bank or some kind of a database which is stored behind the security walls of a lot of companies. It's completely public. So it's like an open invitation. People are still trying to break into the network, but so far it's not been possible. Although entities which involve in Bitcoin-based solutions or solution providers have been compromised. Mt. Gox was one of the biggest examples for this. And in the Bitcoin network, what happens is, although attacker, let's say, imagine an attacker tries to hack some coin, hack your accounts and get some Bitcoins out of your ecosystem or your wallets or your accounts, what would happen is it would still leave an immutable trail behind. So every time a bit of coins moves from one place to another, it always leaves a continuous record. So it's basically pointless for an attacker to actually hack into the network, steal your coins and move it from one place to another. He will not be able to run away with it. There's always a record left behind, and makes it more difficult for criminals. There were a lot of skeptics who are not very much supportive of Bitcoin, cryptographers and security researchers as well, and including guys from the financial industry. But now things have changed. It has proven the testimony of time, and it's continuously growing. So what does all of this technical stuff mean for you guys? So it basically means you can send and receive money. That is what Bitcoin is all about. There is a huge thing that financial innovations is held back due to rules and regulations. But in Bitcoin's world, or the blockchain world as such, it's completely based on open source technology, and anyone is always free to contribute to it. Ever since the start of Bitcoin technology, The code was open source. The number of commits have been done to the GitHub and other platforms as well. There are a lot of spin-offs of Bitcoin technology, which became like the blockchain technology. And today, blockchain technology is one of the even bigger looked into sectors. It's the same force driving the internet innovation. We live in the internet era, so there's been a lot of innovation like Facebook, Google, or whichever company you name it. This is all the information innovations that have happened over the past few years. Now we are going to see innovations happening in the blockchain-based system, which is the innovation for financial and digital assets storage and stuff like that, record management, etc. And money is just the tip of the iceberg. The Bitcoin in itself, the technology, is just one of the flavors of the underneath blockchain technology, and it holds a lot more to this technology. And there's going to be a lot more developments that will going to happen in the coming years. Blockchain could literally disrupt everything. Like I said, internet, again, the era, from text to images to programs to HD videos. Similarly, blockchain is just started off with money and smart contracts, and there is patents and assets and a lot more is going to get added. Now, talking about blockchain, again, there's a lot of confusion about different types of blockchains. So there are basically like a lot of types like permission blockchain, private blockchains, public blockchains, and all of this jargons. So what does this imply for developers? So as a developer, you would require to secure your data in your applications, decentralize your users' data in order to ensure that your users' data is better protected and it is never compromised in case your app got hacked or let's say there was some exploit in your app. And also learn more about blockchain and decentralized technologies. Write smart contracts. Smart contracts basically enable you to put your code on a completely decentralized network. It's like you don't have to run your own servers. You can use all of the network that's already existing and just put your code in the network, and it always stays there. Rethink the ownerships of your identity ownerships of your customers. Defining again, like I said, a public blockchain, enterprise blockchain, and there is this thing called hybrid blockchains. In a public blockchain, what happens is the entire blockchain data is public. Anyone can audit it, anyone can access it, anyone can write to it, anyone can transact within the public blockchain. In an enterprise blockchain, what would happen is only trusted entities. Let's say if I'm IBM, only people that IBM gives access to this blockchain, although it's the same technology, but only people with authorized access to connect to the network will be able to use it. Again, like the internet intranet thing concept here. So public blockchains basically become the internet, and enterprise blockchains become more like the intranet in the blockchain world. Private blockchains are more like a Dropbox being built on the internet itself. Although both will have their own use cases and benefits, in the longer run, the public blockchain is the one which will create the most value, because as long as it is transparent and other people are able to audit it, it brings in a lot more trust, and it's more secure because there's a lot more people who can basically contribute to the network. Blockchain again can be classified, there are different layers. There's a platform layer and the software layer. Platform basically are like public platforms like Ethereum and Bitcoin. These are the most widely popularized platforms of the blockchain technology. And the software platforms like Hyperledger and Eris and Digital Assets, which are basically like companies providing software solutions for developers and other people, enterprise guys to build on it. Again, the same thing. So Tyrion is basically one of the data verification applications built on top of blockchain network. So you can basically put your data on the Bitcoin blockchain network and verify that the data was uploaded at X time and stuff. The hash of the file can be saved. And Everledger is Ethereum-based application which is built basically to prevent fraud in the diamond industry, and it is being used pretty much widely in the current day scenarios. Software development platforms and Hyperledger, Ripple, like there's some APIs and stuff. So multi-chain is one of like a recently come out platform. It's kind of like similar to Ethereum, but it's more like a private enterprise solution. Now Hyperledger model, what happens is there is a permission issuer. As you can see, like everything else is same, pretty much similar to the Bitcoin network. There are peers and there is validating entities which connect to the network and verify that the transaction has happened. But the only difference in this situation is there is a permission issuer, and the issuer basically creates a contract and defines the set of rules. He defines that what are the rules that can happen within the organization. If, let's say, X individual can transfer only this much amount of money within this much period of time, there are a set of rules. And it's a permission blockchain, and what happens is people basically set the limits. And the end user can always use it in a similar fashion like the public blockchain. But the entity with the permission is always free to go back and edit or make changes at his will. Smart contracts, again, you have a contract, and with Ethereum's thing, that is the Solidity language that is built basically to program smart contracts, it becomes a smart contract. So that's the difference from a regular contract to a smart contract powered by Ethereum. This is basically a code which is basically in Solidity. Solidity, like I said, is the language for smart contracts. And let's say there's a conference app. DApp is a decentralized application built using Solidity. To buy tickets or refund a ticket, everything can be built within few minutes of seconds. And there are a lot of applications being built, like DApps. It's a decentralized application. There is a flight delay insurance as well. So in case if your flight is delayed, you basically, let's say if you're using this technology and you pay for a flight, and let's say if your flight is delayed, you are always free to ask for a refund or cancellation or immediate refund, and settlements can be made instantaneously because the APIs will already have the data if the flight is delayed or not, and so on and so forth. And there are a lot of applications. This is like just one of the few of the applications. You can always visit this website. It's like a lot of applications that are already there, built on the Ethereum blockchain. Applications, again, digital currency, smart contracts, securities, and record keeping. Like a lot of sectors where Bitcoin's blockchain or the blockchain technology in itself can be implemented, and it's being already used. Financial use cases, like I said, there are currency exchanges like CoinSecure or other companies like Bitstamp, BitPay, etc. So they allow people to exchange good volumes of Bitcoin. And peer-to-peer transfers, there is payroll and insurance as well. So payrolls, let's say, imagine a use case with international payrolls. For example, recently Airbnb and Uber recently partnered with a payroll company, Bitwage. Now, most of the guys in India can start accepting their earnings, let's say from foreigners or other players. Airbnb is mostly like for an international audience. They can accept their payments in Bitcoin. So it's like a payroll kind of or a settlement kind of a system. And there are also compliance companies that are spinning off from the financial use case. Companies are able to verify if a person's identity, or let's say if a person has X amount of value, and based on that, they can issue a bigger volume insurance cover policy and stuff like that. Gaming industry also has a huge platform. With gaming, what happens is, let's say if you are a user of Crush Candy or any kind of Facebook-driven applications, once you put in the money, there is no way to get the money out. It's a closed-loop system. Basically, you spend a lot of money on Facebook application or any other gaming multiplayer gaming application, and you earn a lot of money. You are like a hardcore gamer. Although they have like options to incentivize the gamer, you are not able to instantaneously use it. It's like you either have to go for opt for a gift coupon or something like that. With Bitcoin's technology being implemented, or the blockchain technology being implemented, there can be seamless cryptocurrencies which can be built for every individual game, and conversion from or transfer from one digital currency to another digital currency becomes really easy and seamless. Non-financial use cases, I mean, there is a lot of documents, record storage, authenticity and authorization platforms, digital identity like KYC, and also Aadhaar. If Aadhaar were to implement blockchain, it would be a huge boon for India. And marketplaces, smart contracts, again, real estate. Now, there are a lot of countries which have come forward and decided to map all of the properties that an individual owns on the blockchain network for internal as well as public auditing. So it becomes really easy for governance. Diamonds, like I said, Everledger is already working on that sector. IoT as well, with machines doing payments within each other. Let's say if your fridge or any other appliance wants to make a payment within itself, within the network. Now what happens is, if you build a technology, let's say as a developer, if you're building a technology here, and if you want the same technology to work in US, here you are linked with SBI, And if you go to US, the technology, you will have to link it with another bank in the US. It becomes like another challenge. You need to spend a lot of time in development as well. But with Bitcoin as or a blockchain-based solution for machine-based payments, it becomes seamless and it can be like instantly done. MIT Labs, there's like certificates being issued on the blockchain network. Slockit basically is a smart lock built on top of the Ethereum contract. So basically you can decide if and only when the guest basically or the person pays for it, the door opens. Otherwise the door doesn't open. So the person never gets access to the house for the rent or other purposes. Healthcare as well, there's a lot of scope that's gone into healthcare. Philips has invested hugely in a healthcare company, and MedRecords is a MIT project again used for enterprise medical record management. 16% of healthcare companies are already in this year 2017 as per IBM's records, as per IBM's recent white paper. 16% of biggest healthcare companies are already working on blockchain technology and will be rolling out with working solutions this year. Estonia is one country where basically they have gone one step forward than any other countries in the world. They have basically taken 1 million citizen healthcare records on the blockchain network via one of our blockchain technology partners. So this is something that's really good. And this picture basically symbolizes that there is doctor, and let's say the person is connected to the blockchain network. Me as an individual will become a living key for my data. It can be like my sensors or my heart rate patterns that can be studied, my retina scan, my eye, fingerprint scan, all together. Because fingerprint again is not it's a point of failure again. There are chances where fingerprints have been leaked again, and there's a lot of possibilities. So you as an individual, the whole pattern is studied, and you become a living key. There can be like bionic implants as well within you. Chips can be implanted, and stuff can be done. Again, healthcare clinical data processing claims, like if a person dies, insurance can be like, the claims can be instantaneously issued. You don't have to wait for any entity to sit and approve it. Pharmaceutical supply chains. Supply chains is a huge industry. Again, there is a lot of fake drugs in the market. If blockchain technology were to be implemented, anyone, let's say I'm a foreigner and I come to India and I go and try to buy medicine from a pharmacy shop, what happens is I basically get the drug, but I don't know what are the standards being practiced here, and how do I verify that this drug was actually manufactured in an authorized center, right? To do that, if the information was put on the blockchain network, like the whole supply chain, from where the supply came for the industry, and from where the drug was manufactured, and from which center, which distribution center it's moved, and finally it comes to the chemist shop at your nearby place, right? So all of that can be verified. There is a huge shortage of developers for the blockchain industry. As of now, there are only just 5,000 hardcore committed developers working on this technology, and estimated another 20,000 developers who are like working in and out with not full amount of dedication to this technology. Yeah, that's it. I mean, any questions? I have a quick demo. Like if you have time, you can actually show a smart contract demo. You can, yeah. Oh. Is that laptop going to turn on? Questions in the meanwhile?
Questions were raised their hands. I think Anupam and yeah. Oh, 1 second.
Let's just switch it like from this to that. Just no, switch it off. Don't connect this one. This is not my laptop. Okay. Is it charged now?
No.
Yeah. Oh.
Oh, great.
Hi, I'm Sanjana.
Phone switch on, is it? Okay, fine.
So can we encash? Sorry, I'm Sanjana. Can we encash bitcoins, or is it just in the network?
I didn't get your question.
Can we encash bitcoins?
Huh?
Can we?
Yeah, that's where CoinSecure comes in. CoinSecure are other exchangers as such which are there in the ecosystem. We enable users to get on the Bitcoin network because not everyone in the network can mine Bitcoins. Like I said, it's actually comparable to gold. Now, not everyone in the world goes and mines their own gold, right? You can't mine gold. There's a lot of resources that needs to be put in, and you need to go really deep into the earth to get that gold out. So it's in a similar fashion, there are this group of miners which actually contribute to the infrastructure and build the whole mining ecosystem for Bitcoin. That is where Bitcoins are generated. That is how Bitcoins, the 21 million Bitcoins which are in existence, like I said, already 16 million Bitcoins have already been mined. Now, where did these Bitcoins come from? It was based on math, and every time a miner or some amount of computing power is contributed, they are rewarded with X amount of Bitcoins. And miners are free to sell their Bitcoins and get some profit out of it. And individuals like me or you, if they want to use Bitcoin, they come to exchange or other kind of platforms, or you can offer your services. Let's say I'm a developer, I can always charge my clients in Bitcoin. That is one way to actually acquire Bitcoin.
Here.
Yeah.
No, just here one question. Here.
Hi, my name is Anupam from the Takshashila Institution.
Yeah.
I just want to ask about the 1 MB block size limits.
Yeah.
And is that a real
It's a huge debatable topic, to be honest. Let me just explain.
To Bitcoin
so
scalability.
there is different groups of people saying that 1 MB limit is not sufficient because the amount of transactions that are going into the network is getting higher day by day, because a lot of people are getting onto the network now because of its huge potential. Now the challenge is with the limit 1 MB was basically set keeping in mind that Bitcoin should be decentralized.
Yeah.
In the essence, what it means is every individual, be it a person living in India with a 512 kbps internet speed or even lower, should be able to connect to the network and download the data. 1 MB limit was initially kept so that every individual, no matter what his internet speeds are, is able to download the data. And there was a lot of debate, and finally developers agreed to double
To 2
it to
MB.
2 MB for now.
Yeah.
For the time being, again it's a situation. For the time being, it's been increased to 2 MB. And with the current evolution of the internet in itself, from what speeds that we grew up with, let's say 56 kbps to the current 100 Mbps that we live in, it's just a matter of time by when this kind of high-speed internets will actually reach, especially Jio. Big thanks to them for making that internet speed just go wild in India. So yeah, with this kind of things, it
So you
becomes
don't
like,
see a scalability issue at all?
personally, I don't think it will be a problem. It's just a matter of internet's infrastructure in itself growing, and Bitcoin can always, the network in itself can always be improvised. What I do see is, in case Bitcoin's network is becoming too crowded, what would happen is developers will change some code in the Bitcoin network, and if all of the community agrees, everyone decides to switch to the newer code, there will be like a much more better database storage mechanism. The storage mechanism, it might be optimized. If it doesn't work out, what would happen is there will be like smaller coins like Litecoin and other altcoins. There are so many coins these days. Ethereum also is become a coin now. So all of these other coins will be used for smaller transactions, but because they are underneath using the same cryptocurrency technology, transferring from one coin to another coin becomes seamless. So you just run a website or let's say a piece of smart contract on the Ethereum network that basically says I want to transfer Bitcoins to this specific account, and you just convert it to Ethereum and send me Ethereum coins. And nobody comes in between. There is no third party that you need to, that has to look after this. It's just a smart contract. It's computer and everything. The coins itself are digital. So it becomes like seamless conversion.
Right.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. I've had a question there.
Yeah, you have mentioned that peer-to-peer transaction.
Yeah.
It can be applicable to cash, share transaction, anything using the blockchain technology, right?
For cash transactions, you can't really, because it's a physical thing. But let's say I decide to take cash. Like this person, basically, this ladies basically asked me, how do you exchange Bitcoins for cash?
No. What I'm asking is,
yeah.
there is no intermediary when you transact from peer-to-peer, right? There's no intermediary between the peer-to-peer transaction, right?
I mean, it's like cash, right? When you're using cash, there is no intermediary. If are you asking like if cash can be put on Bitcoin network, or are you like
blockchain technology? The cash can be put into blockchain technology. Is there a possibility?
if all of the nodes, like the widely popularized thing that happened, that every node has a satellite trackable chip, or any other kind of a scenario where each of the notes that are being printed by the RBI or any other financial institution, what they can do is, let's say if every note had a secure hash that was printed and it ensured that an equal amount of value was, a digital copy of that was created and maintained in the blockchain ecosystem, nodes can easily be tracked. So what it basically means is, now in the current day scenario, what would happen is, one node can be faked into another node. A replica of the node can be made. Now, how will you know if this node is fake or not? You go to a bank and then later on it gets detected. Otherwise, you use a node scanning instrument, which again can be like prone to flaws. Now, if the same node, a hash was implemented, and the hash was actually printed on the node or in a secure manner or in an encrypted manner, what would happen is any individual in any part of the world can always have a mobile application which is connected to the blockchain network and just scan the hash and verify if this node is actually legitimate or not. So that's a possibility.
I have a slightly more basic question.
Yeah.
Can I today have a stack of notes? Can I buy like Bitcoin through such notes, such currency through such notes?
You mean like buying Bitcoins with cash?
Yes.
As of now in India, most of the companies like CoinSecure or other players which are there in the market, Zeppay, UnoCoin, and most of the other companies in India which enable Indian users to get on board Bitcoin technology, they don't do any transactions in cash.
Okay.
So it's a completely, there was a report by India Today or something that companies in India are doing Bitcoin and cash, and a lot of money laundering and stuff is happening in the Bitcoin network. In two essence, I would like to clarify this. What would happen, at least in India or other parts of the places, most of the companies or people like exchanges, Bitcoin are always transacted from bank accounts. People buy it in digital forms and every record is tracked. So eventually you would know where the Bitcoins are coming from and who is buying them and where it is going. So there is always a record that's being stored. So it becomes more difficult if you do any kind of those activities and try to get away with it. Yeah.
Oh, better question back there. Yeah, Pranesh.
If any of you are interested to actually see a smart contract demo, I'll be like available.
Let's just finish the questions and then we can get into the demo. Yeah. Go ahead.
Hello, this is Pranesh from CIS.
Yeah, Pranesh.
I was just wondering about the fact that you multiple times during your presentation mentioned that Bitcoin transactions are instantaneous.
Yeah.
But from what I had previously understood, there needs to be a settlement process which is not real time, because that actually
I will clarify on that bit. Now what happens is, when a Bitcoin transaction actually happens, the transactions are immediately pushed on the Bitcoin network, right? As soon as you are connected to the network, a transaction is pushed. Now the complexity, because of the limits, like the 1 MB limits that's being imposed and the amount of transactions that are being added on the network, there is a delay in all of the other nodes to actually verify or solve this cryptographic problem, which basically is the security factor of Bitcoin, to actually solve it and ensure that the transaction is 100% legitimate, verify it. And by the time it propagates to all of these thousands of nodes all over in the world, different number of confirmations are required, and that is where the time comes. But if you are a hardcore Bitcoin person who knows the technology in and out, or let's say as soon as you push the transaction, although it shows that it's not been verified by anyone in the world, you can rest assured that your transaction is 100% secure and the money has actually moved from point A to point B, because it's visible already in the Bitcoin world, and it becomes like, it's just a matter of time that when it propagates to the network and other nodes basically verify it. So with the scaling issues that are currently being faced in the Bitcoin world, eventually we'll be able to make it much more faster. Or you can always use a faster coin like Ethereum, which I said, which is not much crowded. So what you can do is, for instantaneous conversions until the point when Bitcoin actually fixes that issue. It's not an issue, it's because of scalability issue, right? So what happens is, you can use a smaller coin which can be like used altcoin which can do much faster transactions for smaller volumes, and the bigger volumes can always be done on the main Bitcoin network. And also there is a thing called miners fee. Now imagine all of these companies which are mining gold, right? if they are pumping in a lot of money, and let's say you want X, you want to like get X amount of gold, you can today. Excuse me. If you want to get X amount of gold today, you can always pay an additional fee and tell them just deliver the gold today. And similarly, in a Bitcoin network, the miner's fee basically decides how fast your transaction propagates through the network. If you put a higher fee, it's not mandatory. Bitcoin's network allows you to put a fee which is as minimal as 1 paisa, even for $1 billion or $1 trillion transaction. Now, this is the beauty of it. No matter what the value that you're moving from one account to another, the fee can be 1 paisa or less than a paisa. It's the same technology. It's just a matter of time that by when your transaction will be completed, when it will be verified, when it will be propagating to the network. Let's say if I decide I'm doing a $2 billion transaction, and I don't want to wait that much time. I want it to like get verified within 5 minutes or within like 1 second. I just decide to increase my mining fee. I can like do something like maybe 100 rupees, or let's say in current day scenario, to do an instantaneous propagation within the network, you would require to pay something like 50 to 100 bucks. And if you are paying 50 to 100 bucks, your transaction will instantaneously get verified, because miners pick these transactions faster because there is a reward for the miners.
Yeah. Any other questions?
Yep.
Yeah. So
does that answer the question, Pranesh?
yeah.
I had more, but I'll follow up with you later.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. Wait a second. There's a question here. 1 second. 1 second. This mic's coming.
Others, yeah.
There's also a question. So if I understand it correctly, then with Bitcoin, even if you put a very high rewards on your transaction, you still need to wait for at least the next block to be mined, right? So even if you put a very high transaction fee, you still need to wait on average 10 minutes, right?
Yeah, which is still fast. And the beauty of this is, once your Bitcoin transaction gets even one verification, Bitcoin's network, you are allowed to spend it. As soon as you get one, you don't need to require for the 100 or 1000 verifications, like for all the nodes in the world to verify your transaction. If just 1 or 2 nodes verify your transaction, they basically solve the problem and say this transaction is a 100% legitimate transaction, you are immediately allowed to transfer those Bitcoins again. It's not like in your bank. What happens is, if money is being sent from one part of the world to another part of the world, it takes 1 or 2 days and you need to wait, and only then after you get the money finally, although you get a confirmation, let's say PayPal, right? You get a confirmation that the money has come in your account, but you need to wait for a day or 2 or 3 for PayPal to actually transfer the money to your Indian bank account. You can't really like use it until that point. With Bitcoin, what happens is, the transaction, as soon as it is made, and as soon as just 1 or 2 confirmations are done on the network, you can immediately transfer it to somewhere else and clear your payments or bills.
We have one question from Twitter, so I'm going to ask Kiran to just ask it.
Hello, I seem to have lost this. Is this mic?
Yeah, it's on.
It's on? Okay. So someone is asking on Twitter, will blockchain remove middlemen and develop platforms that are not owned by corporates?
Yes, totally. It's already happening. The trend has already started. There was a slide. I kind of like removed that slide. So it basically meant all of these banks and stuff, they're investing hugely in private blockchains. But what I see personally, or from a technology perspective, as the trend is going, I mentioned somewhere about public blockchains, enterprise blockchains, and a middle thing in between that. It's called the hybrid blockchains. Now what happens is, banks will basically continue, like Axis Bank is already using Ripple for its internal transactions. They have just started off with a pilot. So internally they can continue to use a cryptocurrency based technology. They just need to change the whole database system and map INR to some digital currency. And banks will continue to use a blockchain based solution within the enterprise. Now outside the enterprise, if they want to ensure that, let's say I am a bank and I want to ensure to my customers that all the transactions that are happening in my bank, or let's say a government body as such, I want to ensure that all of these transactions are legitimate, it's not being changed or it's not being tampered. What I can do is, every time the blockchain, the bank's blockchain grows, let's say there is a sector that grows, every new block and it is added, there is a unique hash created for that specific block, which is timestamped. Now this hash can be put on the public blockchain. Now, please try to follow. What would happen is, although your database is private, you are taking the cryptographic hash checksum hash or anything like that for that particular file which is added in the bank, or let's say for an entire day you take a whole database together, the blockchain database, and make a hash, generate a hash for that particular day as a whole, and you can always push this hash on the Bitcoin's public blockchain. Now, from an outsider perspective, you will never know what all transactions happened within a bank or the enterprise. But if audits were to be done, and if you want to, let's say if there was a hack or something went wrong, or the government wanted to kind of like verify what all kind of transactions have happened, the bank and the company which is using a private blockchain can always, using the services of a hybrid blockchain solution, can say that for this particular day, all the transactions, we have generated a hash and it is stored on the public blockchain. You can always verify, and we can be 100%, they can prove that none of the transactions that happened on the day were changed or manipulated in any way, because the hash is already put on the blockchain, public blockchain, and it is timestamped. So you clearly have a 100% audit trail.
Yeah. There are no further. Oh, sorry. There's one last question, and then we can play the.
Hi, Vivek.
Yeah.
So really nice talk. There were a few questions asked in this round of questions, and I wanted a little clarification.
Yeah.
So your question was, can we buy Bitcoin with cash? The answer is yes, but Vivek is correct on the standpoint that there are no companies, registered companies in India which are selling Bitcoin for cash, but I have Bitcoins and you can buy them for cash.
It's more like a commodity per se. So you can buy gold with cash. You can buy any other thing with. It's completely barter. It's like it's a free thing. You can always exchange Bitcoins for cash as an individual or a peer-to-peer based model. But in terms of companies and enterprises which are out there in the market, currently they don't. So, yeah.
Second thing, time taken for a transaction. So it's instantaneous, as Vivek said. The transactions are instantaneous, that you would know that transaction is happening. But a 10 minutes of waiting time is there for you to be certain that the transaction is verified. And after every 10 minutes, you are just more certain that the transaction has happened. But again, it's never 100% certainty that the transaction has happened. Vivek, please correct me if I'm wrong here.
See, from a Bitcoin, like I said, from a technological standpoint, I know that I have the keys for the Bitcoin. Let's say if I own the Bitcoin wallet, if I'm running my own Bitcoin software on my laptop, which is synced 100% to the network, let's say the whole 65 GB, as of date, it's about 65 GB, the Bitcoin's blockchain. If the whole database is on my system, and I as an open source guy who's able to actually dig into the details and see, now if I have my key and I push a transaction to the network, I can be rest assured that no one else in the world has this key, and once the transaction is broadcasted, I can peacefully rest assured by the principles of MACD and the cryptographic algorithm that is in place that the transaction will happen, although it might take time, but I can be rest assured. For a common man, it is a bit of a concern. So when they are using third-party providers, like third-party wallets or other kind of service providers, so what these providers basically do is they implement some kind of a speed-up mechanism. So what it basically means is, as soon as a transaction is done, right, if the fee, a sufficient amount, these companies basically add a suitable amount of fee. There are different ways, there are calculators available online, different websites are there, which basically calculate the amount of fees that were put already on the blockchain network, because the records are anyways public. You can study how much amount of fees are being put currently and how many pending transactions are there. If in today's world what is happening is in the Bitcoin's network, at a given point of time, a normal day, about 4,000 to 5,000 transactions are unconfirmed for every block. There are about 4,000 to 5,000 transactions being queued up to be added to the next block. But in times of like price speculations, or if the prices go up and down, when people actually move a lot of Bitcoins, we have seen transactions going up to 40,000, 50,000, 60,000 for a short amount of time. And at that point of time, the network gets clogged, and you literally have to wait, maybe even if you put a small fees, right? Let's say like 1 paisa or something like even less than that, you would have to wait for at least 2 days. Depends. If you like put a really small fee, sometimes what happens is the transaction doesn't go through, but it will take its own time but it will get verified. The trust is always there that it will get verified.
Okay, so my question was...
Oh, no, sorry. I think we'll have to move on to the next talk.
Yeah.
We can discuss this later. So I'll call upon Florian. Please give a round of applause to Vivek.
Thank you, guys.